Deep beneath the cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean, the Atlantic salmon moves through darkness guided by something older than memory itself. Hidden inside his body is a silent command written into his blood long before he was born. It is not a thought, and not a choice in the way humans understand choice. It is a pull toward the place where his life first began. Tonight, beside the soft glow of a quiet fire, we follow the true journey of this remarkable traveler and enter a story about devotion, endurance, and the strange peace that comes from returning to where the soul first awakened. If your entire life were leading you toward one final journey back to the beginning, when would you decide to leave? The Atlantic salmon never asks himself this question. He simply knows. After years spent growing strong in the vast ocean, after surviving storms, predators, and endless drifting currents, a moment arrives when the sea no longer feels like home. The deep water that once offered freedom begins to feel incomplete. Somewhere far away, beyond the crashing coastlines and winding rivers, waits a narrow stream of cold freshwater carrying the scent of his earliest existence. Most creatures spend their lives searching for comfort and safety, but the Atlantic salmon searches for something else. He searches for origin. The ocean may be enormous, but to him, size means nothing without belonging. In the stillness of night, suspended beneath dark blue water, he senses the distant rivers calling to him with impossible precision. Scientists would explain this through instinct and biology, through chemicals carried in water and encoded memory hidden within his nervous system. But when you watch the journey unfold, it feels like something much deeper. It feels almost spiritual. The salmon begins his return alone. The open Atlantic stretches endlessly behind him while unknown danger waits ahead. He travels thousands of miles guided only by currents, magnetic fields, and the faint memory of fresh water. Every movement forward takes him farther away from the life he has known in the sea. Yet there is no hesitation in him. Once the call awakens, there is no turning back. As he approaches the coastline, the world changes around him. The water grows shallower and more violent. Calm ocean swells are replaced by chaotic river mouths filled with crashing tides and shifting currents. Here, survival no longer depends on speed alone. Precision becomes everything. Every turn through the water requires focus. Every movement forward demands energy. He is no longer the graceful hunter of the deep ocean. He becomes a traveler balancing himself against the force of nature itself. Many people imagine returning home as something peaceful and easy, but for the salmon, homecoming is a brutal test. The rivers reject him at every step. Currents slam against his body with relentless pressure. Jagged rocks wait beneath the surface. Predators gather in shallow water where escape becomes difficult. Bears stand beside rushing rapids. Eagles circle overhead. Yet the salmon continues upstream with unwavering determination. There are moments when waterfalls rise before him like impossible walls. The river roars downward while he fights upward against gravity itself. Then, with explosive force, he launches his body into the air. For a brief second he hangs above the water, silver scales catching flashes of sunlight before crashing back into the torrent below. Sometimes he fails. Sometimes he is thrown backward by the current and forced to try again. But he never stops attempting the climb. The effort becomes a final act of loyalty to the purpose driving his life forward. As the journey continues, his body begins to change. The bright silver shine that once helped him blend into the ocean slowly fades. His skin darkens. His muscles weaken from exhaustion. He stops eating entirely, surviving only on the energy stored inside him. Everything unnecessary is abandoned. There is no distraction left in him now, no interest in the world around him beyond the river ahead. The only thing that matters is reaching the source. To an outside observer, the journey may appear tragic. Why spend every remaining ounce of strength on a return that will ultimately end in death? But to the salmon, this is not tragedy. This is fulfillment. Every mile upstream brings him closer to completing the purpose woven into his existence. The struggle itself becomes meaningful. In a strange way, the hardship gives him peace. There is something deeply human in this journey. People spend much of their lives chasing success, recognition, wealth, or escape, believing fulfillment exists somewhere far away. Yet many eventually discover that what they truly long for is much simpler. They long for connection. They long for meaning. They long to return to the version of themselves that once felt whole and unafraid. Watching the Atlantic salmon fight against impossible currents reminds us that some forms of devotion cannot be measured by logic alone. At last, after crossing rivers, rapids, and endless obstacles, the salmon reaches the quiet freshwater stream where his life began. The water here moves gently over smooth stones beneath the shade of tall trees. Sunlight filters softly through branches overhead. Everything feels calm again. The noise of the world disappears into silence. The salmon is exhausted beyond recovery. His body bears the marks of the impossible distance he has traveled. Yet in this final place, there is no fear left in him. There is only stillness. He has returned to the beginning exactly as he was meant to. Here, in the cold clear water, new life begins again. The next generation will one day follow the same ancient path across oceans and rivers, guided by the same invisible call. The salmon leaves behind more than offspring. He leaves behind a reminder that even after wandering through the largest and most uncertain places in the world, it is still possible to find the way home. Tonight, as the sound of flowing water fades gently into the quiet darkness, the story of the Atlantic salmon settles into the heart like a distant memory. His journey teaches us that no matter how far we drift, no matter how overwhelming the currents of life may become, there is always a path leading back to what truly matters. And perhaps the deepest peace we can ever experience comes not from conquering the world, but from finally returning to the place within ourselves that has been waiting patiently all along.